Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words, written nearly 2,000 years ago, still hold profound relevance today. In a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming, how can we remain unshaken? How can we radiate calm and strength, not just in moments of peace, but in the face of uncertainty, stress, or even crisis? Stoic wisdom offers timeless tools for exactly that, tools that can help us navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore key Stoic principles like emotional control, shifting our perspective, and building unshakable resilience. These aren't just ancient ideas, they're practical strategies for modern life. Whether you're facing a personal struggle, a professional challenge, or simply the daily grind, Stoicism provides a roadmap to inner calm and outer strength. So let's dive in and discover how you can apply these timeless lessons to your own life. Stoics believe that it's not what happens to us, but how we perceive it that shapes our reality. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Think about it. Two people can face the exact same situation, say, a missed promotion at work, and yet their reactions can be worlds apart. One might feel crushed, while the other sees it as an opportunity to grow or explore new paths. The difference, perception. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't always control external events, we can control how we interpret them. And that's where true power lies. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it this way: "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." This is the dichotomy of control, understanding what's within our power and what isn't. Our thoughts, our interpretations, our emotional responses, these are all areas where we have agency. External circumstances, on the other hand, often lie beyond our control. By focusing on what we can influence, our mindset, we free ourselves from being at the mercy of events. Let's take a modern example. Imagine you receive harsh criticism from a colleague or a boss. Your first instinct might be to feel defensive, hurt, or even angry. But what if, instead of reacting emotionally, you paused and asked yourself, "What can I learn from this? Is there truth in their feedback that I can use to improve?" By shifting your perspective, you transform a potentially negative experience into a moment of growth. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one situation in your life where shifting your perspective could change your emotional response? It could be a disagreement with a loved one, a setback in your career, or even a minor inconvenience like being stuck in traffic. The next time you face something challenging, try this Stoic approach. Ask yourself, how can I reframe this? What's within my control? You might be surprised at how much calmer and stronger you feel when you focus on your perception rather than the event itself. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means freedom from being ruled by emotions. At first glance, the Stoic idea of emotional detachment might seem cold or unfeeling. But in reality, it's about creating space between what happens to us and how we respond. It's about not letting our emotions hijack our decisions or cloud our judgment. Think of it like this: when you're caught in a storm, you don't blame the wind or the rain. You focus on staying steady, on navigating through it. Emotional detachment works the same way. It's not about shutting down your feelings, it's about not letting them take the wheel. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, put it this way: "He who is brave is also serene. He possesses wisdom, not allowing his calm to be disturbed." This serenity comes from mastering our emotions, not denying them. It's about recognizing that emotions are natural, but they don't have to dictate our actions. When we detach from the intensity of a moment, we gain clarity. We can see the situation for what it is, not what our emotions might exaggerate it to be. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with someone. Voices are raised, tensions are high, and every word feels like a spark ready to ignite. In that moment, your emotions might push you to react, to lash out, to defend yourself, or to say something you'll later regret. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused? What if you took a step back and allowed yourself to detach from the heat of the moment? By creating that space, you give yourself the chance to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. You might find that the argument loses its power, and you're able to address the issue with calm and reason. This kind of detachment isn't just useful in arguments, it's a skill that can transform how you handle stress, setbacks, and even success. When you're not emotionally tied to a specific outcome, you're free to focus on what you can control: your actions, your mindset, your next step. So, here's a question to reflect on. When have your emotions clouded your judgment? Maybe it was during a tough decision at work, a conflict with a friend, or even a moment of self-doubt. How could emotional detachment have helped you see the situation more clearly? The next time you feel your emotions rising, try this Stoic approach. Pause, breathe, and remind yourself that you have the power to choose your response. Detachment isn't about shutting down, it's about stepping into your strength. The present moment is all we truly have. Stoics knew this well. In a world that constantly pulls us in multiple directions, toward worries about the future or regrets about the past, Stoicism reminds us to anchor ourselves in the here and now. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not disturb yourself by picturing your life as a whole. Do not let your thoughts dwell on all the various troubles which may occur at some future time. Stick to the situation at hand." This timeless advice underscores the Stoic belief that the present is the only moment we can truly influence. By focusing on it, we free ourselves from the weight of what's already happened and the uncertainty of what's to come. Living in the present isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical tool for reducing anxiety and cultivating calm. When we dwell on the future, we often imagine worst-case scenarios that may never happen. And when we fixate on the past, we replay moments we can't change. Both habits pull us away from the only moment where we can take action: the present. Stoics understood that the present is where life unfolds, and by directing our attention there, we regain a sense of control and clarity. One way to practice this is through mindfulness during everyday tasks. For example, when you're washing dishes, instead of letting your mind wander to tomorrow's to-do list or yesterday's frustrations, focus entirely on the sensation of the water, the sound of the clinking dishes, and the rhythm of your movements. This simple act of presence can ground you, bringing a sense of calm and focus that carries over into other areas of your life. It's not about ignoring the future or forgetting the past, it's about not letting them dominate your thoughts in moments when they don't serve you. Marcus Aurelius also reminds us time is a river, a violent current of events glimpsed once and already carried past us. This vivid metaphor highlights the fleeting nature of time and the importance of seizing the moment. When we embrace the present, we're not just living more fully, we're also building resilience. By training ourselves to focus on what's happening right now, we become better equipped to handle challenges as they arise, rather than being overwhelmed by what might or might not happen later. So here's a question for you. What's one way you can bring more presence into your day? It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before starting a new task, or fully engaging in a conversation without distractions. The key is to start small and build the habit of anchoring yourself in the now. Over time, you'll find that this practice doesn't just reduce stress, it helps you radiate calm and strength no matter what life throws your way. Stoics believe that obstacles are not setbacks but stepping stones. This perspective shifts how we see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. Adversity, in the Stoic view, is a teacher. It tests our resilience, sharpens our character, and reveals what we're truly capable of. As Epictetus famously said, difficulties show what men are. In other words, it's not the challenge itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. When we embrace adversity as a chance to learn and grow, we transform it from something to fear into something to welcome. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As Roman emperor, he faced one of the most devastating plagues in history, along with wars, political turmoil, and personal loss. Yet he didn't crumble under the weight of these challenges. Instead, he used them as opportunities to cultivate strength, wisdom, and compassion. In his private writings, he reflected, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This idea, often referred to as the obstacle is the way, is central to Stoic philosophy. It teaches us to reframe adversity as a path forward, not a dead end. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you've just lost your job. It's a tough blow, no doubt, but what if, instead of seeing it as a failure, you saw it as a chance to reassess your goals, learn new skills, or even pursue a passion you've been putting off? That shift in perspective doesn't erase the difficulty, but it empowers you to take control of the situation. You're no longer a victim of circumstance, you're an active participant in your own growth. So here's a question to consider. What's one challenge you faced that made you stronger? Maybe it was a personal loss, a professional setback, or even a small daily struggle that taught you something valuable. The next time you encounter an obstacle, try this Stoic approach. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this help me grow? By seeing adversity as a teacher, you not only build resilience, you also unlock a deeper sense of purpose and strength. Acceptance is not resignation, it's a powerful act of wisdom. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around us, but from accepting what we cannot change. This might sound simple, but it's a profound shift in how we approach life's challenges. Resistance, after all, often leads to frustration and suffering. When we fight against reality, we expend energy on battles we can't win. But when we accept what's beyond our control, we free ourselves to focus on what truly matters: our response, our mindset, and our actions. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This insight reminds us that much of our pain comes from resisting what's already happened or fearing what might. By accepting reality as it is, we strip away the layers of unnecessary suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means recognizing the limits of our control and choosing to work within them. It's about finding clarity in the midst of chaos and strength in the face of the inevitable. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're at the airport, ready to board a flight for an important meeting, when suddenly the announcement comes: your flight is cancelled. Your first reaction might be frustration, anger, or even panic. But what if, instead of resisting the situation, you accepted it? What if you took a deep breath, acknowledged that you can't change the airline's decision, and focused on what you can do: rebooking your flight, adjusting your schedule, or using the extra time to prepare? By accepting the situation, you transform a moment of stress into an opportunity for calm and resourcefulness. This principle applies to far more than travel delays. It's about how we handle loss, disappointment, and even the small irritations of daily life. Acceptance allows us to meet these moments with grace rather than resistance. It helps us conserve our energy for the things we can influence rather than wasting it on what we can't. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you're struggling to accept right now? Maybe it's a personal setback, a relationship challenge, or even a global issue that feels overwhelming. How might letting go of resistance help you find peace? The next time you face something you can't change, try this Stoic approach. Acknowledge the reality, focus on what's within your control, and watch how acceptance becomes a source of strength rather than defeat. As Seneca reminds us, the wise man looks to the purpose of all actions, not their results. In other words, it's not about what happens to us, but how we choose to respond. Inner stillness is the foundation of Stoic strength. In a world that never stops moving, where distractions and demands pull us in every direction, the ability to find calm within ourselves becomes not just a luxury, but a necessity. Stoicism teaches us that true peace isn't dependent on external circumstances. It's something we cultivate within. This inner stillness isn't about escaping the world, but about creating a quiet space where we can think clearly, act deliberately, and respond to life's challenges with wisdom rather than reactivity. Marcus Aurelius, in his private writings, often spoke of retreating into the self as a way to find clarity and calm. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This idea of an internal sanctuary is central to Stoic practice. It's a reminder that no matter how chaotic the world around us becomes, we always have access to a place of stillness within. But how do we create that space? One of the most effective ways is through intentional practices like meditation or journaling. Meditation, for instance, is more than just a tool for relaxation. It's a way to train the mind to focus and let go of distractions. Even a few minutes of quiet reflection each day can help us reconnect with our inner calm. Journaling, on the other hand, allows us to process our thoughts and emotions, creating a sense of order amidst the noise. By writing down what's on our minds, we gain distance from our worries and can see them more objectively. These practices aren't about shutting out the world, but about creating a pause, a moment to breathe, reflect, and recenter. Consider this: in the middle of a hectic day, when everything feels overwhelming, what if you took just 5 minutes to sit quietly, close your eyes, and focus on your breath? Or what if, before bed, you spent a few moments writing down your thoughts, releasing the day's tensions onto the page? These small acts of stillness can have a profound impact, helping us approach life with greater clarity and resilience. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one practice you can adopt to cultivate inner stillness? It might be meditation, journaling, or even a simple walk in nature. The key is to choose something that feels meaningful and doable for you. The more you practice creating that quiet space within, the more you'll find that stillness becomes your default, a source of strength and calm, no matter what's happening around you. True strength, according to Stoics, comes from living with integrity. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the belief that our greatest power lies not in physical prowess or external achievements, but in our ability to live virtuously. Virtues like courage, wisdom, justice, and self-discipline aren't just abstract ideals, they're the building blocks of a resilient and meaningful life. For the Stoics, virtue isn't something you achieve once and forget. It's a daily practice, a way of being that shapes how you respond to every challenge and opportunity. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential teachers, put it simply: virtue is the highest good. But what does that mean in practical terms? It means that every decision, every action, and every thought should align with what's right and true. When we act with courage, for example, we're not just facing fear, we're choosing to stand up for what matters, even when it's difficult. When we act with wisdom, we're not just solving problems, we're making choices that reflect a deep understanding of ourselves and the world around us. And when we act with justice, we're not just being fair, we're contributing to a stronger, more harmonious community. Let's take a modern-day example. Imagine you're at work and you witness a colleague being treated unfairly. Speaking up might feel risky. You might worry about how it will affect your reputation or even your job security. But acting with courage and justice means choosing to do what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. It's not about being fearless, it's about letting your values guide your actions, even in the face of fear. That's where true strength lies, in the willingness to stand firm in your principles, no matter the cost. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you align your actions more closely with your values? It might be something small, like choosing honesty in a difficult conversation, or something bigger, like advocating for a cause you believe in. The key is to start where you are and take one step at a time. Virtue isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each time you act with integrity, you're not just building resilience, you're cultivating a strength that no external force can shake. As you move through your day, consider this Stoic reminder: strength isn't something you find outside yourself. It's something you create within, through the choices you make and the values you uphold. And when you live with virtue as your guide, you'll find that strength becomes not just a trait, but a way of life. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. In a world that often rewards quick comebacks and constant communication, Stoicism offers a counterintuitive yet profound tool: silence. Far from being passive or weak, silence can be a source of immense strength. It allows us to pause, reflect, and respond with intention rather than react out of impulse. Stoics understood that words, while powerful, can also escalate conflict or cloud judgment. By choosing silence, we create space for clarity and understanding, both for ourselves and for others. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "Speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he." But silence, too, can reflect depth and wisdom. This isn't about withholding speech out of fear or indifference. It's about recognizing when words might do more harm than good. Silence, in this sense, becomes a deliberate choice, a way to maintain composure, observe the situation, and act from a place of calm rather than chaos. Think about a time when you've been in a heated argument. Emotions are running high, and every word feels like fuel added to the fire. In moments like these, silence can be a game changer. Instead of firing back, imagine taking a step back, breathing deeply, and simply listening. This doesn't mean you're conceding or agreeing. It means you're giving yourself the chance to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. Often, this pause alone can de-escalate tension and open the door to more constructive dialogue. Silence isn't just useful in conflicts, it's also a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. When we quiet the noise around us and even the noise within us, we create the space to hear our own thoughts clearly. This is why practices like meditation or journaling, which often involve moments of silence, are so transformative. They allow us to tune into our inner voice, free from external distractions. So, here's a question to reflect on: when has silence served you better than words? Maybe it was during a disagreement with a loved one, a moment of intense pressure at work, or even a time when you needed to process your own emotions. The next time you find yourself in a situation where words feel insufficient or counterproductive, consider the power of silence. It might just be the most profound response you can offer. Everything Changes Stoics saw this as a source of freedom, not fear. In a world where impermanence is the only constant, clinging to what's fleeting often leads to unnecessary suffering. Stoicism teaches us to embrace this truth, not as a cause for despair, but as an opportunity to live more fully. By accepting that nothing lasts forever, whether it's a relationship, a career, or even life itself, we free ourselves from the weight of attachment and open ourselves to the beauty of the present moment. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the universe is change, life is opinion. In other words, it's not the impermanence of things that causes us pain, but our resistance to it. Think of it like watching a sunset. Its beauty lies in its transience, the way the colors shift and fade, never staying the same for long. If we tried to hold onto that moment, to freeze it in time, we'd miss the very essence of what makes it so special. Stoicism invites us to approach life in the same way, to appreciate what's here right now without demanding that it lasts forever. This mindset doesn't diminish the value of our experiences, it deepens our ability to savor them. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've just finished a project you've worked on for months. It's been a huge part of your life and now it's over. Your first instinct might be to feel a sense of loss or emptiness. But what if, instead of mourning its end, you celebrated what it brought you, the lessons you learned, the growth you experienced, the connections you made? By embracing the impermanent nature of the project, you create space for gratitude and new beginnings. You're not clinging to what's gone, you're honoring it and moving forward. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you're holding onto too tightly, and how can you let go? It might be a relationship that's changed, a phase of life that's passed, or even a goal that no longer serves you. The next time you find yourself resisting change, try this Stoic approach. Acknowledge the impermanence, appreciate what it gave you, and release your grip. As Seneca wisely noted, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. By letting go, you might just find that freedom lies not in holding on, but in letting go. Stoics believed that true freedom comes from mastering our desires. At first glance, this might sound counterintuitive. After all, isn't desire what drives us to achieve, to grow, to strive for more? But Stoicism invites us to take a closer look. What happens when our desires become tied to things beyond our control, like approval from others, success in a competitive field, or even the perfect outcome in every situation? These attachments, while natural, can lead to frustration, disappointment, and a sense of being at the mercy of external forces. The Stoic solution: align your desires with what you can control, your effort, your attitude, and your values. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical thinkers, offered a stark warning about unchecked desires. Freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it. This doesn't mean we should stop wanting things altogether. Rather, it's about understanding the difference between desires that empower us and those that enslave us. When we desire something outside our control, like a specific outcome or someone else's opinion, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we focus on what's within our power, like our commitment to doing our best, we reclaim our freedom and find a deeper sense of peace. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're working on a project at work or school. You've put in hours of effort and you're hoping for a specific result, maybe a promotion, a high grade, or recognition from your peers. But here's the thing, no matter how hard you work, the final outcome isn't entirely up to you. Others will judge your work, circumstances might shift, and luck can play a role. If you tie your happiness to that outcome, you're giving away your power. But if you focus instead on what you can control, your preparation, your dedication, and your willingness to learn, you free yourself from the weight of expectation. You're no longer chasing an external reward, you're cultivating an internal sense of fulfillment. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one desire you can release to find greater peace? It might be the need for perfection, the hope for validation, or even the longing for a specific outcome in a relationship. The next time you feel that pull towards something outside your control, try this Stoic approach. Shift your focus to what's within your power, your effort, your mindset, your growth. You might just discover that true freedom lies not in getting what you want, but in wanting what you already have. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a practice that transforms our perspective. In the Stoic view, gratitude isn't about ignoring life's challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing the good that exists alongside the difficulties, and in doing so, cultivating a deeper sense of contentment. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing. These words remind us that gratitude isn't about having everything, it's about appreciating what we already have. At its core, gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's present. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of more success, more possessions, more recognition. But Stoicism teaches us that this endless chase often leaves us feeling emptier, not fuller. By practicing gratitude, we anchor ourselves in the abundance that's already here. This doesn't mean we stop striving or growing. It means we approach life with a sense of sufficiency rather than scarcity. And in that shift, we find resilience, the kind of inner strength that isn't shaken by external circumstances. One of the most practical ways to cultivate gratitude is through a daily gratitude journal. Each day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or extraordinary. It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the comfort of a familiar routine. Over time, this practice trains your mind to notice and appreciate the small, often overlooked blessings in your life. It's not about ignoring the hard stuff. It's about balancing the scales so the good doesn't get drowned out by the noise of what's missing. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you're grateful for today that you often overlook? Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the beauty of nature, or even the opportunity to learn from a recent challenge. The next time you feel the weight of life's demands, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a breath, and bring to mind one thing that brings you joy or comfort. Gratitude isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a practice that, over time, reshapes how we see the world and our place in it. And in that shift, we find not just contentment, but a quiet, unshakable strength. Fear is not the enemy, it's a teacher if we let it be. For the Stoics, fear wasn't something to avoid or suppress, it was an invitation to grow. They believed that fear, like any emotion, reveals something important about us, our limits, our attachments, and the areas where we need to cultivate courage. Instead of running from fear, Stoicism teaches us to face it head-on, to examine it with curiosity, and to use it as a tool for self-discovery and strength. As Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. In other words, fear isn't in the situation, it's in how we perceive it, and that's where our power lies. Let's break this down. Imagine you're about to give a presentation at work or school. Your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, and your mind is flooded with what-ifs. What if you forget your words? What if people judge you? What if you fail? These fears can feel overwhelming, but what if you approached them differently? What if, instead of seeing fear as a threat, you saw it as a challenge, a chance to practice courage, to step outside your comfort zone, and to prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you think? That shift in perspective doesn't make the fear disappear, but it transforms it from something paralyzing into something empowering. Stoics understood that fear often stems from our attachment to outcomes, our desire to avoid failure, rejection, or discomfort. But when we detach from those outcomes and focus instead on the process, on doing our best regardless of the result, we reclaim our power. Fear becomes less about what might happen and more about what we can learn from the experience. It's not about eliminating fear, it's about moving forward despite it. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one fear you can confront today to grow stronger? It might be something small, like speaking up in a meeting, or something bigger, like pursuing a dream you've been putting off. The next time fear shows up, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that fear isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. By facing it with curiosity and courage, you'll not only overcome the fear itself, but also build a deeper sense of resilience and confidence. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Fear, in this sense, isn't a barrier, it's the path to becoming stronger. To know yourself is the foundation of Stoic wisdom. At the heart of Stoicism lies a deep commitment to self-awareness, a practice that goes beyond surface-level understanding and digs into the core of who we are. Self-reflection isn't just about looking back, it's about looking inward, examining our thoughts, actions, and motivations with honesty and curiosity. The Stoics believed that this kind of introspection is essential for growth, helping us align our lives with our values and make more intentional choices. As Seneca once wrote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." These words remind us that self-reflection isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for living with purpose and integrity. One of the most powerful tools for self-reflection is journaling. By putting our thoughts on paper, we create a space to process emotions, uncover patterns, and gain clarity. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, was a dedicated journaler. His private writings, later published as meditations, reveal a man constantly reflecting on his actions, his values, and his place in the world. Through this practice, he cultivated a profound understanding of himself and his role in the greater scheme of things. Journaling, in this sense, is more than just a record of events. It's a mirror that reflects our inner world. But self-reflection doesn't have to be limited to writing. Meditation, even for just a few minutes a day, can also serve as a form of introspection. Sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, and observing your thoughts without judgment can help you become more aware of your mental habits and emotional triggers. This kind of mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind, it's about creating a space where you can see yourself more clearly. Both journaling and meditation are tools that help us pause, step back, and ask ourselves the important questions. Why did I react that way? What am I truly seeking? Am I living in alignment with my values? Here's a practical way to incorporate self-reflection into your daily routine. Set aside a few minutes each night to review your day. Ask yourself questions like, what went well today? What could I have handled differently? What did I learn about myself? This simple practice not only helps you process the events of the day, but also builds a habit of self-awareness over time. It's not about judging yourself or dwelling on mistakes, it's about learning and growing. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one insight you've gained from reflecting on your day? Maybe it's a realization about how you handle stress, a moment of gratitude you hadn't noticed, or a pattern in your behavior that you'd like to change. The more you engage in self-reflection, the more you'll discover about yourself, and the more equipped you'll be to live with clarity, purpose, and strength. Strength is not about dominance, it's about humility and self-awareness. At first glance, humility might seem like the opposite of strength. After all, isn't strength about asserting yourself, standing tall, and showing confidence? But Stoicism offers a different perspective. True strength, according to the Stoics, isn't about proving you're better than others. It's about recognizing your limitations, staying grounded, and being open to growth. Humility, in this sense, isn't weakness, it's a profound source of power. It allows us to learn from others, to admit when we're wrong, and to approach life with a sense of curiosity rather than arrogance. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical thinkers, warned against the dangers of pride and self-importance. He said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that arrogance blinds us to new possibilities. When we believe we have all the answers, we close ourselves off to growth and improvement. Humility, on the other hand, keeps us open and receptive. It's the quality that allows us to say, "I don't know," or "I made a mistake," without shame or fear. And in that openness lies true strength. Consider a modern-day example. Imagine you're at work and you've just realized you made a significant error in a project. Your first instinct might be to cover it up, to shift blame, or to downplay the mistake. But what if instead you took a deep breath, admitted the error, and asked for help to fix it? This act of humility doesn't diminish your competence. It shows your integrity and willingness to grow. It builds trust with your colleagues and demonstrates that you're focused on the greater good rather than protecting your ego. That's the kind of strength that inspires respect and fosters collaboration. Humility also plays a vital role in our relationships. Think about a time when you've had a disagreement with someone close to you. Did you dig in your heels, insisting you were right, or did you take a step back, listen to their perspective, and acknowledge where you might have been wrong? Humility allows us to navigate conflicts with grace and understanding. It helps us build deeper, more authentic connections because it shows that we value the relationship more than being right. So here's a question to reflect on. How can humility make you stronger in your relationships? Is there a situation where admitting you're wrong or listening more deeply could lead to a better outcome? The next time you find yourself in a position where humility feels difficult, remember this Stoic insight. True strength isn't about dominance, it's about the courage to be humble, to learn, and to grow. And in that courage, you'll find a deeper, more enduring kind of power. Equanimity is the art of staying steady, no matter the storm. It's the ability to remain calm and composed even when life throws its hardest challenges at us. For the Stoics, equanimity wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was a practical skill, one that could be cultivated through discipline and mindful practice. This balance doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. Instead, it's about creating an inner stability that allows us to respond to life's ups and downs with clarity and grace. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most enduring voices, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we react. Equanimity, in this sense, is about cultivating a mindset that remains unshaken, even in the face of chaos. It's not about avoiding the storm, it's about learning to stand firm within it. Think about a time when you faced a sudden, stressful event, a conflict at work, a personal disappointment, or even an unexpected change in plans. In those moments, it's easy to let emotions take over, to react impulsively or feel overwhelmed. But what if, instead of being swept away by the intensity of the moment, you paused and reminded yourself of what's within your control? By focusing on your response rather than the event itself, you create a space for equanimity to grow. This doesn't mean the challenge disappears, but it does mean you're better equipped to handle it with poise and purpose. Here's a practical way to practice equanimity. The next time you find yourself in a stressful situation, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's one thing I can do right now to stay grounded? It might be as simple as focusing on your breath, repeating a calming phrase, or stepping away for a moment to regain perspective. These small actions can help you maintain your balance, even when everything around you feels uncertain. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one situation where you can practice equanimity today? It could be a disagreement with a loved one, a tight deadline at work, or even a moment of self-doubt. The key is to start small, to build the habit of staying steady amidst life's storms. Over time, you'll find that equanimity isn't just a skill. It's a source of strength, a way to navigate life's challenges with resilience and calm. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When we choose equanimity, we choose to color our lives with peace and strength, no matter what comes our way. anger is a temporary madness, Stoics knew how to tame it. It's one of the most intense emotions we experience, often leaving us feeling out of control and disconnected from our better selves. But Stoicism offers a way to reclaim that control, not by suppressing anger, but by understanding and redirecting it. The Stoics believed that anger is born from unmet expectations, when reality doesn't align with how we think things should be. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, warned, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." This isn't just a philosophical observation, it's a practical truth. Unchecked anger can damage relationships, cloud our judgment, and even harm our health. But when we pause and reflect, we can transform anger into an opportunity for growth. The key lies in creating a gap between the trigger and our response. When someone provokes us, whether it's a rude comment, a careless mistake, or an unfair situation, our first instinct is often to react immediately. But Stoicism teaches us to insert a moment of reflection. Before responding, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is my anger justified? Will lashing out help the situation or make it worse? These questions don't just calm the immediate storm, they help us see the bigger picture. Anger, after all, is often a mask for deeper emotions like fear, hurt, or frustration. By pausing, we give ourselves the chance to address the root cause rather than the symptom. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're driving and someone cuts you off in traffic. Your initial reaction might be anger, maybe even shouting or honking. But what if, instead of reacting, you took a deep breath and reminded yourself that the other driver's actions are beyond your control? What if you chose to focus on what you can control, your own response? By letting go of the need to teach them a lesson, you not only avoid escalating the situation but also protect your own peace of mind. Stoics also emphasize the importance of perspective. In moments of anger, it's easy to feel like the situation is catastrophic, but if you zoom out, you might realize it's not as significant as it feels. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. This shift in perspective doesn't minimize your feelings, it helps you respond with clarity rather than chaos. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one trigger for your anger, and how can you respond differently? It might be a recurring argument with a loved one, a colleague's criticism, or even a minor annoyance like a long line at the store. The next time you feel anger rising, try this Stoic approach. Pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what's really going on here? What's within my control? By taming anger with reason, you'll not only diffuse the immediate tension, but also build a deeper sense of calm and strength for the challenges ahead. Simplicity is not deprivation, it's liberation. In a world that constantly pushes us to accumulate more possessions, more commitments, more distractions, Stoicism offers a refreshing counterpoint, the idea that less can truly be more. By stripping away the non-essential, we create space for what truly matters: our values, our growth, and our peace of mind. For the Stoics, simplicity wasn't about living in austerity or denying ourselves joy. It was about freeing ourselves from the noise and clutter that pull us away from a meaningful life. As Epictetus wisely observed, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This profound insight reminds us that true abundance comes not from what we own, but from what we choose to let go of. At its core, simplicity is about clarity. When we reduce the distractions around us, we're better able to focus on what's truly important: our relationships, our goals, and our inner well-being. Think about your daily life. How much of your time and energy is spent managing things that don't truly matter? The endless notifications on your phone, the clutter in your home, the commitments that drain you rather than fulfill you. Each of these things pulls us away from the present moment and creates a sense of overwhelm. By embracing simplicity, we reclaim that lost energy and redirect it toward what brings us genuine fulfillment. One practical way to start is by decluttering not just your physical space, but your mental space as well. Begin with something tangible like your workspace or your wardrobe. Ask yourself, does this item bring me joy or serve a purpose? If the answer is no, let it go. But simplicity goes beyond the physical. It's also about decluttering your schedule and your mind. Take a moment to review your commitments. Are there obligations that no longer align with your values or goals? Are there habits or thought patterns that drain your energy rather than nourish it? By letting go of what no longer serves you, you create room for what truly does. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one area of your life where you can embrace simplicity? It might be your home, your schedule, or even your digital habits. The next time you feel overwhelmed, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a step back, and ask yourself, what can I let go of to create more space for what matters? Simplicity isn't about losing something, it's about gaining the freedom to live with intention and focus. And in that freedom, you'll find a deeper sense of peace and strength. True success, according to Stoics, is about character, not accolades. In a world obsessed with external markers of achievement, wealth, status, and recognition, Stoicism offers a radically different perspective. Success, in the Stoic view, isn't measured by what we accumulate or achieve, but by how we live and who we become. It's about cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, qualities that shape our character and guide our actions. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the true worth of a man is to be measured by the objects he pursues. In other words, it's not about the rewards we chase, but the values we embody along the way. This shift in focus from external to internal success is both liberating and empowering. When we tie our sense of worth to things outside our control, like promotions, praise, or material possessions, we set ourselves up for constant disappointment. But when we define success by what's within our power, our effort, our integrity, and our commitment to growth, we create a foundation of fulfillment that no external circumstance can shake. Stoics believe that this kind of success isn't fleeting. It's enduring because it's rooted in who we are, not what we have. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've just completed a major project at work. You poured your heart into it, worked tirelessly, and gave it your best effort. But when the results are announced, you don't receive the recognition you hoped for. If your definition of success is tied solely to external validation, this could feel like a failure. But if you shift your perspective, if you measure your success by the effort you put in, the lessons you learned, and the integrity you brought to the process, the outcome becomes secondary. You've already succeeded because you stayed true to your values and gave it your all. This doesn't mean Stoics dismiss external achievements entirely. They simply remind us not to let those achievements define us. Success, in the Stoic sense, is about aligning our actions with our principles, regardless of the results. It's about striving to be the best version of ourselves, even when no one is watching. As Seneca wisely noted, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Success, then, isn't about having more. It's about wanting less validation, less status, less comparison, and finding contentment in the journey itself. So here's a question to reflect on. How do you define success, and does it align with Stoic principles? Is your sense of fulfillment tied to external achievements, or is it rooted in your character and effort? The next time you find yourself chasing a goal, pause and ask, what truly matters here? Is it the outcome or the person I become in the process? By redefining success in this way, you'll not only find greater peace but also a deeper, more enduring sense of accomplishment. Compassion is not weakness, it's the mark of a strong soul. At first glance, compassion might seem like a soft or passive quality, something reserved for moments of ease. But Stoicism challenges this notion, showing us that true compassion requires immense strength and courage. It's about seeing the humanity in others, even when they're struggling or causing us pain. It's about choosing understanding over judgment, connection over division. For the Stoics, compassion wasn't just a moral virtue. It was a practical tool for building resilience and fostering harmony in an often chaotic world. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "We are all limbs of the same body." This powerful metaphor reminds us that we're deeply interconnected and that the well-being of one affects the well-being of all. When we practice compassion, we're not just helping others, we're strengthening the bonds that hold us together. It's an act of courage because it requires us to step outside ourselves, to see the world through someone else's eyes, and to respond with kindness even when it's difficult. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated disagreement with someone, a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger. Emotions are running high, and it's easy to see the other person as an adversary, as someone who's wrong or unreasonable. But what if, instead of escalating the conflict, you paused and asked yourself, what might they be going through? What pain or fear could be driving their behavior? This shift in perspective doesn't mean you have to agree with them or condone their actions. It simply means choosing to see their humanity, even in the midst of tension. That's where true strength lies, in the ability to respond with compassion rather than react with anger. Here's a simple way to practice this. The next time someone frustrates or upsets you, take a moment to consider their story. What challenges might they be facing? What insecurities or fears could be influencing their behavior? By approaching the situation with curiosity rather than judgment, you create space for understanding and connection. And in doing so, you not only diffuse the tension but also build a deeper sense of resilience within yourself. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can compassion make you stronger in your relationships? It might be something as small as offering a kind word to a stressed coworker, or as profound as forgiving someone who's hurt you. The key is to start where you are, to take one small step toward understanding and empathy. As Seneca reminds us, no one is born for themselves alone. When we choose compassion, we're not just helping others, we're cultivating a strength that enriches our own lives and the world around us. Failure is not the end, it's a stepping stone to growth. For the Stoics, failure wasn't something to fear or avoid. It was an essential part of the journey toward becoming stronger and wiser. They believed that every setback, every mistake carries within it the seeds of progress. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical thinkers, put it this way: difficulties show what men are. In other words, it's not the failure itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. When we approach failure as a teacher rather than an enemy, we transform it from a source of shame into a catalyst for growth. Reframing failure begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of seeing it as a final verdict, a sign that we're not good enough, we can view it as feedback, an opportunity to learn and improve. Think of it like this: if you're learning to play an instrument, every wrong note isn't a failure, it's a clue about where to focus your practice. The same principle applies to life. Whether it's a missed promotion, a rejected proposal, or a personal mistake, each failure offers valuable insights if we're willing to look for them. This mindset doesn't erase the sting of disappointment, but it does give us the tools to move forward with purpose. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've been passed over for a promotion at work. It's easy to feel defeated, to question your abilities or even your worth. But what if, instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you asked yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Maybe it's a sign that you need to develop new skills, or perhaps it's an invitation to reassess your career path and explore new opportunities. By shifting your focus from what you've lost to what you can gain, you turn a moment of failure into a stepping stone toward something greater. The Stoic approach to failure also emphasizes resilience. It's not about pretending everything is fine or ignoring the pain of disappointment. It's about acknowledging the difficulty and choosing to rise above it. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This powerful idea reminds us that obstacles, and yes, even failures, are not detours, they're part of the path. They test our resolve, sharpen our character, and ultimately make us stronger. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one failure that taught you an important lesson? Maybe it was a project that didn't go as planned, a relationship that ended, or even a small mistake that changed your perspective. The next time you face a setback, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger because of it? By seeing failure as a teacher, you'll not only build resilience but also find a deeper sense of purpose in every challenge you face. Patience is not passive, it's a powerful act of self-control. In a world that often celebrates speed and instant results, patience can feel like a forgotten virtue. But Stoicism reminds us that true strength isn't about rushing through life, it's about moving through it with deliberate calm and resilience. Patience, in the Stoic view, is a form of endurance, a quiet but unyielding force that allows us to stay steady in the face of delays, setbacks, and uncertainty. It's not about waiting idly, it's about maintaining focus and composure, even when progress feels slow or obstacles seem endless. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most enduring voices, once reflected, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand unexpected and sudden attacks." This striking metaphor captures the essence of patience. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about meeting them with a steady hand and an unshaken mind. Patience, in this sense, is a form of inner strength that allows us to endure without losing sight of our purpose. It's the ability to trust the process, even when the outcome is unclear. Think about a long-term goal you've set for yourself, whether it's building a career, mastering a skill, or improving a relationship. Progress in these areas rarely happens overnight. There will be moments of frustration, times when it feels like you're not moving forward at all. But patience teaches us to focus on the small, incremental steps rather than the distant finish line. It's about valuing the journey as much as the destination, recognizing that growth often happens in the spaces between the milestones. Here's a practical way to cultivate patience. The next time you're working toward a goal, pause and reflect on how far you've come, rather than how far you still have to go. Celebrate the small wins, the lessons learned, and the resilience you've built along the way. By shifting your focus from the end result to the process itself, you'll find that patience becomes less about waiting and more about appreciating the present moment. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one area of your life where you can cultivate more patience? It might be a personal project, a career aspiration, or even a relationship that's taking time to grow. The next time you feel the urge to rush or the frustration of slow progress, try this Stoic approach. Remind yourself that patience isn't passive, it's a quiet strength that empowers you to move forward with grace and resilience. And in that strength, you'll find not just success, but a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. Criticism is not an attack, it's an opportunity for growth. For the Stoics, how we respond to criticism reveals far more about us than the criticism itself. It's easy to feel defensive, hurt, or even angry when someone points out our flaws or mistakes. But Stoicism teaches us to pause and ask a different question. What can I learn from this? Instead of seeing criticism as a threat, we can view it as a mirror, a chance to see ourselves more clearly and grow stronger in the process. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, put it this way: the wise man does not resent being corrected. He resents not having the opportunity to improve. These words remind us that feedback, even when it stings, is a gift, one that helps us refine our character and sharpen our skills. At its core, the Stoic approach to criticism is rooted in self-awareness. It's about separating the message from the messenger. Whether the feedback comes from a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger, the key is to focus on the content rather than the tone or intent. Ask yourself, is there truth in this? Can I use it to improve? This shift in perspective doesn't mean accepting every critique as valid, but it does mean being open to the possibility of growth. It's about cultivating the humility to recognize that none of us are perfect, and that every piece of feedback, no matter how small, can help us move closer to our best selves. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've just presented a project at work and a colleague offers some pointed feedback. Your first instinct might be to feel attacked or defensive. But what if, instead of reacting, you took a deep breath and asked, what can I take away from this? Maybe their critique highlights an area where you can improve your communication or refine your approach. By viewing their feedback as constructive rather than critical, you not only diffuse the tension but also turn the moment into an opportunity for growth. Criticism also teaches us resilience. It's not about avoiding judgment or seeking constant approval. It's about building the inner strength to withstand it. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, it is not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. When we approach criticism with equanimity, when we choose to respond rather than react, we demonstrate a quiet strength that no amount of negativity can shake. This doesn't mean we ignore harsh or unfair critiques, but it does mean we don't let them define us. We take what's useful, leave what's not, and move forward with clarity and purpose. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you use criticism to become a better version of yourself? It might be a comment from a loved one, a critique from a mentor, or even a passing remark that struck a nerve. The next time you receive feedback, try this Stoic approach. Pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? By embracing criticism as a tool for growth, you'll not only strengthen your character, but also cultivate a deeper sense of resilience and self-mastery. Letting go is not giving up, it's reclaiming your peace. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that much of our suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from our inability to release what we cannot control. This isn't about resignation or apathy, it's about understanding where our power truly lies. When we cling to outcomes, expectations, or even past hurts, we tie ourselves to things that are often beyond our influence. By letting go, we free ourselves from unnecessary burdens and create space for inner calm and clarity. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical thinkers, captured this idea perfectly when he said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." These words remind us that true freedom comes not from controlling everything around us, but from releasing our grip on what we can't change. Letting go, in this sense, isn't a loss, it's a liberation. It's about redirecting our energy toward what we can influence, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses. Consider a practical example: holding onto a grudge. Maybe someone wronged you in the past and the memory of that hurt still lingers. Every time you think about it, you feel anger or resentment bubbling up. But here's the thing, holding onto that grudge doesn't change what happened. It doesn't punish the other person, it only weighs you down. By choosing to let go, you're not excusing their actions or pretending the hurt didn't happen. You're simply choosing to release the emotional burden so you can move forward with peace and strength. The same principle applies to unmet expectations. Perhaps you've been working toward a goal, a promotion, a relationship, or a personal milestone, and things haven't gone as planned. It's natural to feel disappointed, but clinging to the what-ifs or should-haves only prolongs the pain. Letting go of that specific outcome doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means shifting your focus to what you can control, your effort, your attitude, and your next steps. So here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing you need to let go of to find peace? It might be a past hurt, an unmet expectation, or even a fear of the future. The next time you feel the weight of something you can't control, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that letting go isn't about losing. It's about gaining the freedom to live fully and authentically. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By releasing what you can't control, you reclaim your power and your peace. Change is the only constant. Stoics saw it as an ally, not an enemy. From the shifting seasons to the unpredictable turns of life, change is woven into the fabric of existence. Rather than resisting it, Stoicism teaches us to welcome it as a natural and necessary part of growth. By embracing change, we cultivate resilience and adaptability, qualities that allow us to thrive in an ever-evolving world. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most enduring voices, captured this truth when he wrote, "The universe is change, life is opinion." In other words, it's not change itself that causes us pain, but our resistance to it. When we learn to flow with life's currents rather than fight against them, we unlock a deeper sense of peace and strength. At its core, the Stoic approach to change is about perspective. It's about recognizing that change is neither good nor bad, it simply is. What matters is how we choose to respond. Think about a time when you faced a major life change, a move to a new city, a shift in your career, or even the end of a relationship. In those moments, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to cling to what's familiar and resist the unknown. But what if, instead of seeing change as a threat, you saw it as an opportunity? What if you approached it with curiosity and openness, trusting that it could lead you to something greater? This shift in mindset doesn't erase the challenges, but it transforms how you navigate them. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you've just started a new job. The routines are unfamiliar, the expectations are unclear, and you might feel out of your depth. It's natural to long for the comfort of your old role, but Stoicism invites you to see this transition differently. Instead of focusing on what you've lost, ask yourself, what can I gain from this experience? Maybe it's a chance to learn new skills, build new relationships, or discover strength you didn't know you had. By viewing change as a teacher rather than a disruptor, you not only adapt more easily but also grow in ways you might not have imagined. The Stoic approach to change also emphasizes acceptance. It's not about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring the difficulty of transitions. It's about acknowledging reality as it is and choosing to work within it. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. Change in this sense is like a sparring partner. It tests our resilience, sharpens our skills, and ultimately makes us stronger. When we stop resisting and start embracing, we find that change isn't something to fear, it's something to welcome. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you embrace change in your life right now? It might be a small shift, like trying a new hobby, or a larger one, like navigating a major life transition. The next time you feel the discomfort of change, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that change is not an obstacle, it's an opportunity. By meeting it with openness and curiosity, you'll not only adapt more gracefully, but also discover new depths of resilience and strength within yourself. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. This simple but powerful idea lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. For the Stoics, courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about moving forward even when fear was present. In fact, they believed that true courage could only exist in the face of fear. It's the ability to stand firm, to act with integrity, and to stay calm in the midst of adversity. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, captured this beautifully when he wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." These words remind us that courage isn't just for grand, heroic moments. It's woven into the fabric of everyday life, in the small choices we make to keep going despite the challenges we face. At its core, courage is deeply connected to inner calm. When we act with courage, we're not ignoring our fears or pretending they don't exist. Instead, we're choosing to face them head-on, to acknowledge their presence without letting them dictate our actions. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. It teaches us that fear is natural, but it doesn't have to control us. By confronting what scares us, whether it's a difficult conversation, a risky decision, or an uncertain future, we cultivate a sense of inner stability. Courage, in this sense, becomes a tool for maintaining calm, even when the world around us feels chaotic. Consider a practical example: standing up for a belief or value, even when it's unpopular. Imagine you're in a meeting at work, and a decision is being made that goes against your principles. Speaking up might feel intimidating. You might worry about being judged or facing backlash. But what if, instead of staying silent, you chose to voice your perspective with clarity and respect? This act of courage doesn't just uphold your values, it also strengthens your inner resolve. Each time you act with courage, you reinforce your ability to stay calm and centered, no matter the circumstances. Stoicism also emphasizes that courage isn't a one-time event, it's a practice. It's built through small, consistent choices to face what scares us. Over time, these choices accumulate, creating a foundation of resilience and calm that can withstand life's storms. As Seneca reminds us, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Each challenge we face with courage polishes our character, helping us grow stronger and more grounded. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one fear you can face with courage today? It might be something small, like sharing an idea you've been hesitant to voice, or something larger, like making a life-changing decision. Whatever it is, remember that courage isn't about eliminating fear, it's about moving forward despite it. And in that forward motion, you'll find not just strength, but a deeper sense of calm and clarity. As you navigate your day, consider this Stoic reminder: the bravest thing you can do is to act with courage even when your heart is racing. Because true strength lies in the quiet moments when you choose to stand tall, no matter what. Time is our most precious resource. Stoics knew how to cherish it. Unlike money, possessions, or even relationships, time is the one thing we can never get back. Once a moment passes, it's gone forever. This simple truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, which urges us to treat time with the respect and intentionality it deserves. The Stoics believed that how we spend our time is a direct reflection of our values and priorities. If we waste it on trivialities or distractions, we're not just squandering minutes, we're squandering life itself. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This stark reminder isn't meant to instill fear, but to inspire urgency, a call to live each moment with purpose and presence. At its core, the Stoic approach to time is about mindfulness. It's about recognizing that the present moment is all we truly have. The past is unchangeable and the future is uncertain. What's within our control is how we choose to use the here and now. This doesn't mean we should ignore long-term goals or stop planning for the future. It means we should focus our energy on what we can do today, in this moment, to move closer to those goals. By anchoring ourselves in the present, we maximize our time and minimize regret. As Seneca wisely observed, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. The key, then, is to stop postponing what matters and start living as if today were all we had. Think about your daily routine. How much of your time is spent on activities that truly align with your values and goals? How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows, or getting caught up in tasks that don't contribute to your growth or happiness? The Stoics would urge us to examine these habits and ask ourselves whether they are serving us or stealing from us. Prioritizing meaningful activities, whether it's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or working toward a goal, isn't just about productivity. It's about living a life of intention and fulfillment. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you make better use of your time today? It might be as simple as setting aside distractions to focus on a meaningful conversation, dedicating an hour to a project that excites you, or even taking a few moments to simply be present and appreciate the world around you. The next time you feel the pull of a distraction, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this how I want to spend my most precious resource? By valuing your time and using it wisely, you'll not only achieve more but also live with a deeper sense of purpose and calm. Forgiveness is not about others, it's about freeing yourself. At its core, forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It's about releasing the weight of resentment, anger, or bitterness that ties us to the past. Stoicism teaches us that holding onto grudges doesn't punish the person who wronged us, it only drains our own energy and peace of mind. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, put it this way: to be wronged is nothing unless you continue to remember it. These words remind us that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's actions or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about choosing to let go of the emotional burden so you can move forward with clarity and calm. Imagine carrying a heavy rock everywhere you go. Over time, it becomes exhausting, weighing you down and slowing your progress. Holding a grudge is like that rock. It might feel justified, even righteous, but it doesn't serve you. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is about setting down that rock. It's about reclaiming your energy and redirecting it toward what truly matters: your growth, your peace, and your ability to live fully in the present. This doesn't mean forgetting or condoning harmful behavior. It means choosing not to let that behavior define your emotional state. Let's take a practical example. Think about a time when someone betrayed your trust, a friend who let you down, a colleague who took credit for your work, or even a loved one who hurt you deeply. The natural response might be to hold onto that pain, to replay the incident in your mind and let it fuel your anger. But what if, instead of clinging to the hurt, you chose to forgive? Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. By releasing the resentment, you create space for healing and growth. You're not erasing the past, you're refusing to let it control your future. Stoicism also emphasizes that forgiveness is a practice, not a one-time event. It's something we cultivate over time through small, intentional choices. It might start with acknowledging your feelings, then gradually shifting your focus to what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, and your emotional well-being. As Seneca reminds us, the wise man does not resent being wronged. He resents not having the opportunity to improve. Forgiveness, in this sense, is an opportunity, a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one grudge you can release to find peace? It might be something recent, or it could be an old wound that's been weighing on you for years. The next time you feel the pull of resentment, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about freeing yourself. By letting go, you'll not only lighten your emotional load, but also create space for greater joy, clarity, and strength in your life. Uncertainty is not a threat. It's an invitation to trust ourselves. Life is full of unknowns, from the everyday to the life-altering. Whether it's a sudden change in plans, an unexpected setback, or a major decision with no clear outcome, uncertainty can feel overwhelming. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. Instead of fearing the unknown, we can learn to navigate it with calm and confidence. The key lies in focusing on what we can control, rather than wasting energy on what we can't. This shift in mindset doesn't just reduce anxiety, it empowers us to face uncertainty with resilience and grace. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical thinkers, put it this way: what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about things. In other words, it's not the uncertainty that causes stress, but how we perceive it. When we stop trying to predict or control every outcome and instead focus on our own mindset and actions, we reclaim a sense of agency. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything will work out perfectly. It means accepting that uncertainty is a natural part of life and trusting ourselves to handle whatever comes our way. Let's take a practical example: losing a job unexpectedly. For many, this can feel like a devastating blow, filled with questions about the future. How will I pay my bills? What if I can't find another job? The uncertainty can be paralyzing. But what if, instead of fixating on the unknowns, you focused on what you can do? Maybe it's updating your resume, reaching out to your network, or exploring new opportunities. By shifting your attention to actionable steps, you not only reduce anxiety, but also regain a sense of control. Uncertainty becomes less about fear and more about possibility, a chance to grow, adapt, and discover new paths. So here's a question to reflect on: how can you find calm in the face of uncertainty? The next time you're confronted with the unknown, try this Stoic approach. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what's within my control right now? It might be as simple as focusing on your next step, practicing gratitude for what you do have, or reminding yourself of past challenges you've overcome. By embracing uncertainty as an opportunity to trust yourself, you'll not only navigate it with greater ease, but also uncover a deeper sense of strength and resilience within yourself. Strength is not solitary, it's found in the bonds we share. While Stoicism often emphasizes self-reliance and inner resilience, it also recognizes the profound role of community in cultivating strength. The Stoics understood that humans are inherently social beings, and that connection and support are essential for navigating life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered voices, reflected on this when he wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." This simple yet powerful metaphor reminds us that our well-being is deeply intertwined with the well-being of those around us. Strength, in the Stoic sense, isn't just about what we can do alone, it's also about what we can achieve together. At its core, the Stoic approach to community is about mutual support and shared growth. It's about recognizing that no one is an island, and that leaning on others isn't a sign of weakness, it's a source of strength. When we offer support to those in need, we not only uplift them but also reinforce our own resilience. Similarly, when we allow ourselves to be supported, we create opportunities for deeper connection and understanding. This reciprocal dynamic builds a foundation of trust and stability, helping us weather life's storms with greater ease. Consider a practical example: reaching out to a friend who's going through a tough time. Maybe they've lost a job, ended a relationship, or are simply feeling overwhelmed. By offering a listening ear, a word of encouragement, or even just your presence, you provide them with a lifeline of support. But the act of helping doesn't just benefit them, it also strengthens you. It reminds you of your capacity for compassion, your ability to make a difference, and the value of human connection. In this way, community becomes a powerful tool for resilience, both for the giver and the receiver. Stoicism also teaches us that community isn't just about seeking help, it's about creating spaces where everyone can thrive. This might mean fostering open and honest communication, practicing empathy, or simply showing up consistently for the people in your life. It's about building relationships that are grounded in mutual respect and shared values, where everyone feels seen, heard, and supported. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When we surround ourselves with positive, uplifting connections, we cultivate a mindset of strength and optimism. So, here's a question to reflect on. How can you strengthen your connections with others today? It might be as simple as sending a thoughtful message to a friend, volunteering your time for a cause you care about, or even just being fully present in your next conversation. The next time you feel the weight of a challenge, remember that strength isn't just an individual pursuit, it's a collective effort. By nurturing your relationships and leaning on your community, you'll not only build resilience but also create a network of support that enriches every aspect of your life. Throughout this journey, we've explored timeless Stoic principles that empower us to radiate calm and strength, no matter what life throws our way. At the heart of it all lies the power of perception, the ability to choose how we interpret and respond to the world around us. By mastering this skill, we transform challenges into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. Resilience, another cornerstone of Stoic wisdom, reminds us that adversity isn't something to fear. It's a teacher that helps us grow stronger and wiser. And finally, presence, the art of living fully in the moment, frees us from the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future, allowing us to navigate life with clarity and purpose. These principles aren't just abstract ideas, they're practical tools for everyday life. Whether you're facing a difficult conversation, navigating a career transition, or simply managing the stresses of daily life, Stoicism offers a roadmap to inner peace and outer strength. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about cultivating a mindset that allows you to respond to life's challenges with grace and intention. As Seneca beautifully reminds us, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing. Now it's your turn to take these lessons and apply them. Reflect on how you can shift your perception, build resilience, and embrace presence in your own life. What's one situation where you can choose calm over chaos? How can you turn a challenge into an opportunity for growth? The beauty of Stoicism is that it's not just a philosophy, it's a practice, one that becomes more powerful the more you engage with it. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. How have these Stoic principles resonated with your own experiences? What's one takeaway you'll carry forward? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might inspire someone else on their journey. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more Stoic wisdom to help you navigate life's ups and downs with calm and strength. Remember, the power to transform your life lies within you. As Seneca said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Choose thoughts that empower you, and watch as your life becomes a reflection of the calm and strength you cultivate.